Hi.
Hey.
Welcome to another episode of Wicked.
Mysterious.
This is episode
13.
13.
My favorite number.
Your favorite number, I was going to say. It's also one of mine.
You're so sweet.
So yeah, I'm your host, Annie.
And I'm Katie.
So I'm not dreading this, but I'm dreading this. I want to give a disclaimer up front. Well, first of all, before I give my disclaimer, I want to talk about how weird it is that our topics relate to each other so much because we don't tell each other what our episodes are going to be.
Right, we don't.
So sometimes, like, it seems like lately they've been going, like, together almost.
Mm-hmm. Right.
At least some of them.
Yeah.
Or they relate to each other in some way, which is kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yep, we're definitely in sync with that right now. We're on the same wavelength.
So my disclaimer is with this episode, it's, again, like Katie's did, is going to go a lot into quantum physics and quantum mechanics, and please don't come for me, okay? Like,
don't ever come for me, guys. I'm just open-minded and innocent about this. I read shit and I just say it, but I don't go home and be like, I think everybody by now thinks you're the one that's sensible and I'm just the I just love to imagine different, and I love to imagine the possibility. I'm not saying the things we say are always true.
Exactly. I feel the exact same way. I love to experiment with this stuff in my own life, and I love to think outside the box.
Yes.
And I love to have a different perspective or outlook
than everybody else. Yes.
That makes myself happy and makes other people feel happy, even if it's not quote unquote right or real or whatever, because what really is real.
Right.
So I think we can all agree that none of us really know at all.
Nope.
And even the scientists. And science is only proven until it can be disproven. So there's so much mystery left.
Good point. Yep.
So again, I don't pretend to know it all. And math is a language in itself. It's a language that I don't currently speak. Mm-hmm. So I've been lucky enough to have some friends who are amazing teachers, even though not by trade. And they've been able to explain these theories to me in a way that I understand. However, I've not studied it enough to be able to remember what I learned. All I know is that it made sense at the time they told it to me.
Yeah.
Because a good teacher will explain it to you in a way that you can relate.
Yes, yes.
So today's episode is another strange phenomena brought into our pop culture by TikTok. So today's topic is quantum leaping and reality shifting.
That's where you should enter that music.
I should.
Yeah, we're going to get into that.
Yeah.
Guys, we're going to have all kinds of cute little clips of cool music throughout our podcast. It's all growth. It's all growth.
All right. So let's start with the basics. There's some big differences between lucid dreaming, quantum jumping, and reality shifting, but they do have a lot in common. Lucid dreaming, as we know, is knowing that you're dreaming while you're asleep, and you may even be able to control the environment or outcome of the dream.
So that's what I could always do as a kid. I can't do now because I don't remember my dreams now, but that's what it was called.
Well,
I didn't know that.
You are doing it and you just don't remember it.
I didn't know that it was called lucid dreaming, so thank you.
Oh, you didn't?
I really didn't.
Till right now?
Yeah, till right now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, there's actually a how to lucid dream list on WebMD.
Cool.
So I thought that was wild because it's so interesting to see how much our society has changed over the past decade, because people used to straight up say that lucid dreaming was bullshit, and now it's on WebMD.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I think we should have a more in-depth discussion on lucid dreaming in another episode because that's a whole other rabbit hole itself. But reality shifting is compared to lucid dreaming, and it's not exactly the same thing.
Okay.
So what is quantum jumping? Quantum jumping is also known as quantum leaping, and I'm going to try to explain this from a metaphysical standpoint, but obviously it has a lot to do with quantum physics, which I'll attempt to explain. But again, I am in no way a physicist, nor do I pretend to understand these concepts, but I'm slowly starting to. So I will say, though, that metaphysics and quantum physics do tie together in ways that we probably just don't understand yet. In fact, the term quantum leap or quantum jump is rarely used in scientific context. Merriam-Webster defines it as an abrupt change, sudden increase, or dramatic advance. It originated as a synonym of quantum jump, which describes an abrupt transition as of an electron, an atom, or a molecule from one discrete energy state to another. It's also defined as a great improvement or important advance in something. So, tying it back to metaphysics, a quantum leap is a noticeable shift in consciousness and the manifestation of a new reality. The thought is, since that there are multiple dimensions or universes existing all at once, and since time is a construct, we can collapse timelines, shifting things forward to the here and now, and ultimately changing our reality into a new, already existing reality.
So, do you think quantum leaping can happen from meditation?
Yes.
Okay.
You can do it while you're meditating. So meditating
or hypnosis.
They're kind of the same thing.
Okay.
Because
yeah, you're right. Like a mental state, you're being put into a certain state of mind.
And I'm going to go back to Helen Hatzel again, but Helen Hatzel talked about, or the guy she trained under, Jose, whatever his name was, Jose Silva, who developed the Silva method, which is a brain state of alpha waves in which supposedly, according to him, you can manifest things easier.
Right.
So to me, hypnosis and meditation go hand in hand because it's, to me at least, hypnosis is just a way of getting there.
Okay.
So it puts your brain in a state that's like not really in the here and now.
Right.
So meditation for me is not a way to like being in a receiving state. You're not like...
You're not escaping. It's more of an openness.
Yeah, it's an openness and it's like a presentness, but not in the 3D, really.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Like you're here, but you're open to other...
It's more like you go within.
Waves of like...
Yeah,
reality.
So you go within, but you can also be in a very open state. And that's why people get messages and stuff when they meditate. But anyway, this is not a meditation podcast.
Yeah.
Okay. There are quantum leap meditations and stuff that you can do on YouTube and stuff.
Okay.
And it's all about basically selecting a new timeline, right? So if we, again, talk about the Helen Hatzel method of SPEC or any kind of manifestation method, every one of them will have something to do with visualization. Okay. So visualizing and getting your body and your energy into that vibration is what is supposed to
make the magic happen.
Make it happen. So that is the idea behind shifting dimensions, because it's almost like you said in the last episode, every time you make a decision and every path that you take, you're creating a new reality, right?
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's the same type of thing, but instead of, and it can be choice in the 3D world, because every decision we make is going to lead us somewhere different than if we made a different decision, every single decision. And that's, the butterfly effect thing and all that. But I think that when you meditate and you visualize, it's just another way of getting there.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Austrian physicist Erwin Schrödinger did not like the idea of quantum jumps. And in a paper written in 1952, he stated that instantaneous changes in reality do not happen, but happen slowly over time. Patience, right?
True.
He claimed that quantum particles are wave-like and change slowly over time. Another problem with the jump theory is that it's left up to chance and random timing, something physicists don't like to see. Max Born, a German physicist, said, "Quantum jumps are not so much an internal matter of physics as one of its relation to philosophy and human knowledge in general." So again, this brings us back to the metaphysical or spiritual idea of changing timelines. If we can collapse timelines, though maybe not immediately, and if every possible version of ourselves or an event exists, is it possible to switch between realities?
Wow, incredible thought. Like, imagine if, like, your mom passed in one reality, but she didn't in another, and you could, like, go and visit her.
That's where I get stuck.
Yeah.
Because it's like...
Yeah, it does. It's really hard to even fathom.
grasp of that, right? Yeah, I wonder that too. I was thinking that myself, because it's like, if I believe all of this and I know that this is to be true, then why are there limits on it? Why can't we do that?
Yeah.
So
I mean, maybe we can. We just haven't tried, right? Like, hard enough.
I'm sure people have.
Yeah. So, do we know that people haven't been able to do this?
Bring people back from the dead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you just meant the act of merging into another reality and coming back. Okay, sorry, yeah. Bringing back from the dead. Well, the movie Mandela Effect did that. You did watch that movie?
No.
It's actually such a good movie. And they go over Bernstein Bears, like, in there. Yeah, the movie is based off of him noticing because of the Bernstein Bears. And he's like, wait a minute. And his daughter dies, and he is on a mission to bring her back. It's a really good movie.
That sounds really sad.
It is a sad
What
movie.
happens?
He does bring her back. He has to, it's like some simulation, like the world's a simulation, and he reprograms to, like, go back and get her. It's crazy.
What movie is it where there's the dad and the daughter and he's reaching through the dimension to grab her?
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about, but it's not the Mandela effect. It's not the butterfly effect.
No.
I know what you're talking about. She escapes into the other dimension, and they think she's missing, right, for the longest time, and then they find her.
I can't remember.
But she's like a ghost basically until he gets her back. I think I know what you're talking about. But yeah.
It's not Poltergeist where she... No, it's not that. There's another one.
Yeah.
Anyway, so again, if we go back to episode 6 with Helen Hadsell, the contest queen, if you haven't listened to it, it's a woman who won every contest she ever entered using a system she created called SPEC. So SPEC stands for Select It, Project It, Expect It, and Collect It. This method is also used at the University of Metaphysics, but they call it VMAP, which stands for Visualization, Meditation, Affirmation, and Prayer, which is very close to Helen's SPEC method. The key thing between these two methods is visualization, or as Helen called it, projection. So from my personal standpoint, I believe that this can be done. I believe I have done it. However, I know that anecdotal evidence or evidence based on a feeling I have will never stand up to scientific scrutiny. I'm not even saying that I'm right in my experiences. I'm just saying that I was able to accomplish this. Whether or not the science backs it up is not really a concern of mine.
Right. All that matters is that you did it. Yeah.
Reality is completely based on our perspective. Mm-hmm. So now that we kind of sort of know what quantum leaping is, let's get into this new version called reality shifting. So this is where it gets weird and stupid, in my opinion.
This is like the big TikTok trend is reality shifting.
Yeah, and before we go into reality shifting, I was thinking, so if we go back to why can't we, if we control our reality and we can switch dimensions into new ones, why can't we bring somebody back from the dead? Do you think it's because we can't change the past? Again, like we talked about.
Yeah, I think the past is, we can't change the past, but I think it's possible to change the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because we determine that, right? Mm-hmm. And I think our physical bodies only have so much life in them. And I think that we can't control when our body gives out or when somebody else's body gives out.
Imagine if we can't travel back in time yet, but that's why there's people that claim to be traveling here from the year 3022, because in that year, we will learn how to go back in time. Like, that's a crazy thought.
But then if you go back in time, what reality are you, what dimension are you going to? Because it goes back to the butterfly effect, and every move you make has a different outcome, even just, a sneeze or whatever.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I was just talking to somebody about the Simpsons episode where Homer has the toaster. I don't know if you've ever seen that,
No,
but he breaks a toaster and he goes in the basement to fix it. And every time he pushes the toaster down,
Yeah.
he goes to like the past. He goes to Dinosaur Land,
shit.
and every time he comes back,
Yep.
the current reality is different.
Wow.
So it's just he's very, when he goes back to the past the first time, he's like really careful about not stepping on anything or doing anything, and
Yep.
and still things change.
Still
And then he
things
gets
change.
so mad that like he kicks a dinosaur, and then like he goes back to current reality, and like his whole family has like lizard tongues.
Oh my
And then he goes back again and he sneezes and all of the dinosaurs die like immediately, like he's the one that caused the extinction. So it's just, it's interesting to think about, because even if we could time travel, right, then what does, to where?
Well, and also I thought it's interesting that you even brought up The Simpsons, because there are so many Simpsons foreshadowing events that have
we should
been.
talk about that.
That's a whole nother episode. But that's crazy that you used The Simpsons as an example right now, because maybe in time we are going to have a time traveling back in time with a toaster.
So, not to go too far off topic, but do you think that some of this shifting or some of this Mandela effect or even The Simpsons has something to do with our collective conscious? And that if we really all are one big consciousness, we can change the way that we think and therefore change the reality as a whole?
I don't know. I don't know how, like, The Simpsons making those...
Because so many people watched it, and then it happened because it was implanted in our consciousness. And so many... I think of it as like a seesaw. If enough people on the seesaw go to the right, the seesaw is going to go up on the other side. So once there's enough people that have a certain thought process or a certain...
Yeah. I see what you mean. Like, if enough people watch it, like, didn't they even predict Trump?
Yeah, there's so many. Maybe we'll do that as an
like
episode.
The hair.
Yeah,
was so fascinatingly uncanny.
Mm-hmm. There's been a lot.
Yeah, you should do that episode, because you are so passionate about The Simpsons, and I've never watched them.
Oh man, it's so good.
I just thought it was like. It was just...
Yeah, you don't like funny.
Yeah. I like my own funny. All right.
Okay, anyway.
Yeah, I want to know about the TikTok thing. Like,
okay, yes. Okay, so this brings us to reality shifting.
Okay.
So reality shifting seems to have a very loose definition because it's still new, it's not understood, and not really believed by the mainstream. Mm-hmm. So the best definitions that I could even find for it were on Urban Dictionary, so that's saying something.
Yeah.
So, according to Urban Dictionary, reality shifting is traveling to realities in the universe. Quote, we shifters believe in the multiverse, meaning that there are infinite universes, like a reality where you're famous or even when you're in Hogwarts. You can shift literally anywhere. Shifting is 100% safe, it's not against any religion, and you can never get stuck. Another Urban Dictionary definition says the manifestation of objects appearing, disappearing, transforming, and transporting. Changes in the way we experience time. Any sudden, abrupt alteration of physical reality with no apparent physical cause. The source of synchronicity.
Wow.
John discovered that his keys had experienced a reality shift. He found them right where he'd looked to begin with, when he noticed they were missing, in the very spot where he knew for sure they hadn't been just a moment before. Mm-hmm. But the definition that I find most intriguing is also from Urban Dictionary. It says the scientific term for this is quantum leaping or quantum jumping. This is the moving of your conscious mind to an alternate reality through the use of manifestation in quantum physics. Many say it's just lucid dreaming, but it's very different. Many people use this to go to Hogwarts to date Draco, and it has become a huge trend on TikTok. Be careful, because a lot of people spread false info. Yes, it is real, and yes, it is possible. The CIA released documents in the late 1900s. In the late 1900s. That's crazy that it says that.
I know, right?
So some small child wrote this. So it has been a thing way before it was a trend. Please do your research and don't go discouraging others if you don't believe in it. And the example they give is person 1, I can't wait to reality shift and go to Hogwarts. Person 2 is, isn't that just lucid dreaming? Person 1, no, silly. When you reality shift, you're going to a real place. Reality shifting is the movement of your conscious mind from this reality to another.
And I want to know, like, when someone's in a coma and they're unconscious, like, is there a consciousness escaping to a different reality? Like, I just want to know.
And if there is, why don't they remember it? Sometimes they do, but...
Yeah, they do. Like, I told you the story about my stepfather in the coma, right? Hi, Joel. Love you. He had a 3 months where he was in a coma, and he felt like it was just a day. And felt like the nurses were trying to kill him. Like, he felt the extreme paranoia. He heard them, like, whispering about how to kill him.
While he was out?
Like, that's all he remembers from the whole thing. So it's like you just said, do they even remember? Like, that whole 3 months, he could have been somewhere else, but he only recalls right before he woke up that day, probably, you know? But he does remember things like my mom would put, like, music in his ears, like put headphones in his ears, and he remembered that.
Yeah.
So clearly there was still some consciousness in the coma.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. The brain is just so freaking amazingly fascinating.
I know. We should do one on near-death
It's
experiences.
frustrating that it's so fascinating. Like, it's just, near-death experiences,
but again,
for sure, yeah.
I think that's just I think that's what the human experience is. All right, so again, if we think about this in the sense of what we talked about in the last episode with the Mandela effect,
Yep.
Imagine if a subset of the population experienced a reality shift after Mandela died to a reality where he hadn't actually died yet.
Yes, a subset, exactly.
Imagine if this happens all the time, but the events of past shifts in reality are barely noticeable from our current standpoint in the, quote, future.
Right.
The main difference between the terms quantum jump and reality shift, at least in popular culture, is that quantum jumping is changing your reality by choice or by manifestation. A reality shift is where you enter a whole new dimension, even a fictional one. Insert my eye roll here, because I just...
the fictional one. Like, it's like, how am I gonna...
It's so,
transport
like, fangirly to me.
Because Harry Potter is being like this.
That's
big,
all people talk about.
Yeah.
Is like going to Hogwarts. Like, do something fucking better. Like, you know. Anyway,
you're gonna get the Harry Potter fans mad.
I don't care.
Better. Nothing's better than Hogwarts.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so how does this work?
I'm curious about the TikTok. Like, how are TikToks being presented about this? Like, are people like, hey, I just reality shifted and I went to, like, what are the TikToks explaining?
I don't know. Is
it like a challenge?
I only read about it on Reddit and people's experiences.
All right, so it's not like a trending, like, hashtag,
it supposedly is. Not that I've seen. I didn't go looking for it, but I'm not like a 12-year-old girl, so I'm not like...
You're not like gonna...
That's not my algorithm.
Okay.
Though I probably should have researched what the actual TikToks are saying. All I know is that it's become popular from TikTok.
Right, okay, yeah. Gotcha.
So how does this work? Supposedly, if you follow these steps, you can enter your new desired reality, or what they call DR.
Okay, do I need to get my... laptop open to get these steps written down over here?
No, because I don't think this works. But sit or lay in a comfortable position. Write down in great detail your DR, desired reality. Write down your DR self if you're choosing to be yourself or someone else. Decide how long you want to stay in your DR before coming back to your CR, or current reality. Enter a meditation state or a state of self-hypnosis. And using one of these methods from TikTok, shift into your DR. Some of these methods include the Alice in Wonderland method. So stupid.
Okay.
Imagine yourself sitting next to a tree until you see someone from your DR run by and chase them like you're chasing a white rabbit.
What?
Or write affirmations on a paper and put it under your pillow before you go to sleep. Mm-hmm. Or picture yourself on a train ride to your DR. And step 7, the last step, enjoy your DR and come back within your allotted time. Also, you can't shift into a DR if you don't prioritize your CR. Stupid. So they're saying, like, you have to take care of yourself and your current reality to be able to shift to a new one. Why? Okay, if it was real, then whatever.
It makes sense if people are visualizing riding a train to their DR. It would make sense that they were going to Hogwarts.
Right.
Platform, what, 3 3/8? Or sorry,
11
Hogwarts
and
fans.
3 something. I don't fucking know. And I don't
Platform
care.
9 and 30.
9 and 3/11 or some shit. Whatever. Okay.
Sorry.
I'm sorry to
fans.
like be so, I don't know. I'll get into it. So most websites refer to this reality shifting as fictional, but I wonder, again, just playing devil's advocate, how it isn't factual at this point, at least to an extent. Because we know we can lucid dream. We know we can create realities, which is technically switching timelines or dimensions, for lack of a better term, because that's not really scientifically what a dimension is. But anyway, we've even used remote viewing in our own government. So why would reality shifting not be possible? Granted, we're limited in our physical bodies. Eventually, you do have to come back and eat so you don't die, right? Though, in yoga training classes, they teach about yogis who sit for 21 days at a time, not eating, not going to the bathroom, and reach enlightenment by staring at a singular point in their vision. So I just wonder, is this as out there as people think? Because remember, back in the day, lucid dreaming was said to be bullshit, no matter how many times people said they could do it, and now it's on WebMD.
Right.
So we know, in quotes, that our soul is energy, and we know, in quotes, that when our physical bodies die, our energy still exists. That's been proven. At least it's been proven that energy cannot be created or destroyed. So it's not that much of a leap. We just don't have the scientific evidence to back up other possibilities.
Yeah. What I was just really randomly thinking about was, like, if we really do merge into realities and we don't know it, right? It would explain Mandela effect, but it also could explain, you know how humans, they tell us like that we change every so many years, right? Like your taste buds, right? How weird is it? Yeah. How weird is it? Now, what is that? Like every 14 years or something like
7
that?
or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I grew up hating mushrooms to the point where, like, I hated the texture, I hated the smell, I hated everything about mushrooms. I couldn't cook with mushrooms. I would be able to taste it. Like, horrible. And suddenly this year, I love mushrooms. I want to eat mushrooms all the time. I think about mushrooms. I have friends, sorry, Shane, that's absolutely disgusted by me. I want it all over pizza. Like, I'm not a red sauce fan, so I do still like my pizza with white sauce or Alfredo, but all I want is mushrooms. How? And then we talk about, like, our friendship. It's really bizarre, but I kind of stopped engaging with a Libra best friend whom Danny is very, very, very much like. Shout out, Jamie, if you're listening. And in a lot of very weird ways, even down to, like, the cat. And, like, it's weird because that friendship ended and then Danny manifested me. She stole me out of that reality and brought me to this one.
That's not what I manifested. I didn't manifest to steal you, but I...
You manifested, I know, a like-minded friend.
Yes.
Right. I was joking about, like, but I feel like there was a switch. Because it was just so bizarre how, like, all of a sudden my world was so different, but yet so alike.
Yeah.
Like, almost as if, like, that person was replaced by you. And my taste buds were replaced. And maybe we all just think, like, oh, yeah, taste buds change every 7 years. But maybe we really are merging into a different version of us. One that loves mushrooms.
So... and I don't want to make this like a spiritual podcast. I realize that my past couple episodes have been like about like that, but that's just how I explain or express like my thoughts and my reality. And again, it doesn't make it true, but, and not to get too personal, but I've done this. I've manifested you, like you existed before, obviously, but not to me. So I don't know that you even existed before.
You took me out of my mushroom hating world.
But I've done it in other ways too. I've wanted things so bad and like thought about it and envisioned it and like sat down on my couch and did self-hypnosis and did the meditations and did these exercises where I visualized, and it feels to me like a timeline collapsed. And that's what these hypnosises were about, is like you picture yourself in the future, and all of a sudden I'm in the future. Yes, time passes,
right,
of course,
right.
Like yes, things take time, and we can't just press fast forward on our lives,
even though it feels like it,
but
sometimes.
that's what it feels like,
right.
And that's what I'm saying is like, we're adults, we've had all these different experiences, and it's not scientific proof, and nobody has to believe me. All I can tell you is what it feels like to me.
Right.
And I think that this is possible, and I think I've done it, at least the quantum jumping, maybe not in the scientific sense, but in the sense of like our consciousness. So back to this shifting thing, I want to believe that it's possible, because I don't want to like mess up all these little kids' dreams and stuff, which we'll get into like where this actually came from and stuff. But there's such a big difference between reality shifting and quantum leaping, or, you know, what these terms, I don't know what these terms express, like the idea behind them. There's a big difference between reality shifting and quantum jumping, because quantum jumping is literally like you're changing your path on the future. If you're talking reality shifting, it's
leaving this reality.
It's like so much more than like leaving this reality. It's like making one up, and you can do that though with quantum jumping. You know what I'm saying? Because you like, make a choice, and you go for that thing, or you change your vibration, and that comes to you because it has to, because that's a universal law.
Right.
But
yeah.
Something just doesn't sit well with me with this shifting thing.
Yeah.
And I can't put my finger on it.
I can tell.
And I think it's the fangirlness behind it. Like, I hate that.
Yeah,
like,
me
it's
too.
just so stupid.
Yeah, it is. If anybody's hype about something, it's like, ew. Lame. Well, no, just kidding.
I know. No,
it's
seriously.
Really not,
it is.
So randomly, again, thinking here, if this is tied in, but like, you know how when something is supposed to happen as like fate, but you escape it? Like, what's that called? That movie where people...
Final Destination?
Yes. Is it similar to that? Like, you're making a choice, you were supposed to die, but you made a choice that you didn't, right? And so your future changes, but then it still comes back to you because it's still fate. It's still meant to happen. Like, so you're not really fully changing your future, you know?
The more that I go into this rabbit hole, the less that I think that there's fate. Because I think...
Why are you squinting your eyes?
Because I'm concentrating really, really hard. Really fucking hard.
Okay?
I'm not. I know. I'm like all squinched up.
With her hood on, like curled up in a ball. I'm like, are you okay?
It's so much brain power.
Yeah.
So the more that I go into this rabbit hole, the less I think that fate is a thing. Because I don't...
Like, you don't think something is already predetermined to happen and it's going to happen no matter what.
It's not that I don't think that. It's that if we believe that there's a multiverse, and we believe that one decision can change the course, why would we believe that there's something set out in front of us for us?
Yeah, I guess like if life's a simulation and there's like an end level, which we know would be like infinite or an infinity, right? Like it's not set at a certain time unless it is, who knows? But like one weird ass thing that I cannot explain in my life that I always wondered if was an example of a simulation is Chad's best friend, Rusty. He's got the same birthday as me. We're both born on November 13th. My cousin Corey is also born on November 13th. We're all pretty, well, I'm close to them. I used to be. Love you, cuz. Rusty and me have the same birthday, and we both dated someone who died of very similar ways on September 23rd.
Yep.
And I always wondered, like, what are the odds that two November 13th birthdays had a significant other that died on the same day, September 23rd? Different years, but what are the odds of that? Like, unless everybody born on November 13th, watch out for you guys out there. Like, imagine, like, if it's programmed like that, like,
Right,
everybody,
it's like pulling a number, and
Yeah.
it's like everybody
with this birthday is going to experience this time.
And I think eventually we'll get there with technology because there's so much data. And that's why
Yeah.
AI is so good, because it pulls from every known source everywhere.
Yeah.
So that's why we have so much information that we have. That's why the algorithms are so good, because it's not necessarily listening to you. It's just that good. It knows you're pregnant before you do. Isn't that crazy?
I don't understand that. I'm
Because
so
it's
like
data.
like
It's
I've
just
always
data.
like I've always said to you when you talk about it, it's something my brain just doesn't grasp. I don't know why. Like I get it's data, but I just still can't.
So
Like,
if everybody has a
like
birthday,
how does it know there's a baby in a womb if it's not mathematically like
because it's not necessarily mathematical, but it knows you, and it knows your habits, and it knows if you're in a relationship, it knows how long you've been in a relationship, it knows your age, and a million
crazy.
other factors that
better than
that
me? I don't even know my age half the
I don't
time.
either, but
Yeah.
but AI does. So
So
anyway,
interesting.
but I also think that there's no coincidences. So I think, like, at least the way that I choose to look at life, again, it doesn't mean it's right, but the way that I choose to look at life is that, like, things are meaningful for me, and I want things to be meaningful. And it's not necessary that other people don't feel that way, or
Yeah,
don't think that way.
they'll rule it as a coincidence right away,
Right.
instantly. They'll put
Right.
no thought into it at all. They'll be like, "Oh, that's just a coincidence." But like, how?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like there's no way that's a coincidence.
Right.
So you have to think deeper into it. You just do. You can't just be so passive
Right.
about everything because someone tells you it's a coincidence.
Right. And it could be. It could just be a
It
coincidence.
could. It
but
totally
I
could.
don't-
But sometimes there's deeper meaning that means something to you, and that's
Right.
what matters.
Right.
Like, so.
Okay. So people who practice reality shifting call themselves shifters. A popular destination for shifters is Hogwarts, which, like, Harry Potter's cool, I guess, but
Again, yeah.
you can do this shit with your brain, and that's where you decide to go. It's just weird to me.
Yeah.
It's, like I said, it gives me that weird fangirl feel, and I hate it.
Yeah, because it's an imaginary world, and you're traveling to an imaginary world, basically. Like,
But if you could go anywhere, wouldn't you go somewhere cool, like the
Yeah.
pyramids or Atlantis
Yeah,
or
yeah.
an alien spaceship or anything else that you can imagine with your brain?
Right.
There's so many other things that you could do.
Yeah.
Not some stupid made up Disney movie land.
right? Especially if they constantly go to the same place. Like,
Right.
try something different. Come
Right.
on, move along.
So, but to each their own. So, a website called thelucidguide.com says, if you or a loved one has been affected by the irrational beliefs surrounding reality shifting, it is highly recommended you seek professional psychological help.
Hilarious.
Do not assume that this is a harmless trend, as it may be a sign of or lead to a more serious mental health issue. They also explain that this trend was first coined in 2006 by a New Age author called Starfire Tor, whom this website refers to as bizarre. And since 2020, adults have monetized this idea using TikTok and YouTube to profit off children who will buy into this theory. TheLucidGuide.com is big on the idea that this is complete and total bullshit, and while I tend to agree on the face of it, I think it does have some interesting points. But this is not about my opinion. I just try to find the middle ground when it comes to somewhere between metaphysics and hard science. There are things we know, again in quotes, that we'll just never be able to prove with modern science.
Right.
And again, I'm not here to argue the science with anybody. I'm just trying to bring you some weird shit. So,
That's our job. Bring you weird shit.
yeah. So
Yeah.
what do you think of this? And I'm so sorry. I feel like all I do is, like, go down these wormholes of, like, manifestation. Like, I'm honestly sick of talking about it. But it's, once you, like, get it and you realize, like, that you're whether or not you believe in any kind of spirituality behind it, you are the only one in control of your life at any point.
It's true.
Any decision you make is going to affect everything.
Yep, your
Down the
thoughts, your actions, everything is really going to make your life what it is. Yep. I think it's fascinating. I totally believe in the whole astral projection.
Yes.
And, I believe in it. I believe people have the ability, and it's cool.
I would like to do an episode on astral projecting and remote
Because it's
viewing.
different. Because it's different.
The thing is that
Because I meditated once and I went to an alien ship.
that's cool.
I was watching back in the day, the PlayStation, where it would be the screensaver and the disc would turn and just turn and turn and turn. And it was maybe like 3:00 in the afternoon. Back in the day, my parents didn't even fucking check on me. They were just like, oh, she's quiet in her room. Like, I'm not bothering her.
Katie's on a fucking spaceship.
Yeah, I was literally on a spaceship. I'm like, Mom, fucking thanks. But no, I always assumed I just fell asleep. And it's very possible I did. But I was sitting up and staring, intentionally trying to hypnotize myself by this thing and focusing on it. And before I knew it, I was dreaming. I thought I was dreaming. I was on a ship and there was an alarm going off and there was a door closing and I didn't know anything. All I knew was I just had to get through that door before I didn't know where I was. It was a long hallway. It reminded me of like going on an airplane, just a little wider, all like silver, like everywhere. And I just ran as fast as I could and I got under the doorway and I ended up waking up. But it was hours later. It was like 8:00 at night.
Yeah.
And I was shocked. I was like, I didn't eat dinner. Nobody cared where I was. And I just always wondered, it totally could have been a dream. Totally could have been a dream. But what if I I was a lucid dreamer as a kid. I literally intentionally made my dreams happen and changed them while I was dreaming all the time. So maybe I had that ability.
Yeah, remote viewing and meditation, you're awake. Your body is not asleep. Your mind goes somewhere else, but your body is not asleep.
Okay.
But the thing...
But how can you tell? So if your body's not asleep, right, and you're sitting there, but you're somewhere else and you come back and now you're here, how can you tell if your body was sleeping or not? You know what I mean? How do you know?
Because with meditation, I don't know about remote viewing because I've never tried that, but with meditation, I don't really leave. I'm still there. I'm just more inside.
Right.
It's
So is astral projection you leave?
Astral projection and remote viewing, I believe, are the same thing or the same idea. We should do an episode on it. But the point I was going to make is that with astral projecting or remote viewing, all you're doing is sending your consciousness somewhere else, but on the same plane.
Okay.
So the government would use it to spy on other countries. So it's still in this 3D here and now, but not really. This reality shifting is just so out there for me.
Yeah.
It's just so, it's
yeah, it's
I don't
really
see.
tough.
So, but let's think about this, because if there is a multiverse, if that is true,
Right.
and every reality can
True.
exist,
Yep.
what's saying that
Right.
Hogwarts doesn't exist?
Right.
I mean, it technically does because it's written, so it's in our mind,
And it's now at
thoughts
Universal.
become things. Yeah, and now it's in our subconscious. It's in our consciousness as a society and all
yep.
that stuff. So, who's to say?
Yep.
Who's to say it? I can't
It's not
say
real.
it's not real.
In another dimension.
And I wish I put it in here, but I read on Reddit this one person who successfully did this. I don't think she went to Hogwarts. She went somewhere else in a made-up dimension land that she fucking made up in her head.
Yep.
And she went there and she said everything was tangible. She said she could eat the food, she could feel things, she could touch things. And she said to herself in this other reality,
Yep.
I can't wait to go home and tell my friends about this. This is so crazy. I can't believe I did it. And this whole thing. But it's
Yeah.
isn't that just lucid dreaming?
Right. That's what I was just thinking about. You were saying it. It's almost how do they know they weren't dreaming?
Right.
I say about that, I was probably dreaming. You know what I mean?
How do you know we're not dreaming right now?
Yeah. I mean,
Dun, dun, dun.
hopefully my dreams if I remembered them, would be better than reality. I would
Better
hope.
than making this podcast with me right now?
No, I'm sorry. You're right. Nothing's better than this. All right.
So that's it for reality shifting. Any last thoughts?
No, I think like I'm on the same page as you. Like the whole TikTok trend is hard to grasp for me, but I do think that it's within our within our means to be able to send our consciousness somewhere else. And yeah, I think it's possible.
And then how do you like shift back? Like how do you?
I know that's the thing that was like, you never get stuck. It's like, how do you know I'm not going to get stuck? What if I fuck up?
Right, like that movie Insidious. Do you remember that, where the kid was a lucid dreamer and he got stuck in another realm?
That's what I was thinking of, actually. Now that you say that, yes, you were thinking of the girl. That's 100% what I was thinking of. Yeah, because also reached in to pull them out. Yeah,
because it was like some entity trying to come into his body or some shit.
And apparently too, there's a new something. It's like 2022 or 2021. Did I screenshot it? Oh no, right here. It says there's a movie on IMDb called Look Both Ways. And it's about a girl named Natalie who diverges into a parallel reality. We should watch this. We should write a list of things we need to watch.
I don't know. I'm scared.
One in which she becomes pregnant and remains in her hometown. I gotta open the rest. But still on the same concept here about how she goes into two different realities. I mean, that's pretty interesting. It only gets 3 stars though.
Boo.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Don't want to waste my time. I'm just kidding. All right. Is that the guy and the girl that you remember from the movie when you were saying the girl goes into a different dimension? No?
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, wait. We have to get back to saying
bye.
But
do you think like this is too spiritual and too like.
No, you only talked about spirituality very quickly.
Okay.
Like, I know what you mean because you feel like you've talked about manifestation and stuff like more. But think about it. I've talked about aliens.
Yeah.
So it's like, clearly we have. I'm always coming back to.
They still tie together.
Yeah, they do. They absolutely do. Especially when we're talking about into different dimensions. Like.
But the thing is, like, I feel like it's called a spirituality, but what if it's not? What if that's just is what it is? Like whatever word you want to call it, we know we can change reality.
Right.
In one way or another.
Yeah.
Right? Do you believe
that?
that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay, I totally do.
Sometimes I feel like I'm nuts, but then I prove it to people and they're like, oh, shit.
When you read that about the seeking psychological help, I wanted to say there are people that hear someone talk about this and they're like, holy shit, that girl's a whack job.
Right.
But that's sad. Like, that's a very sad way to think.
Not so much anymore.
It's just so closed-minded, though.
It is.
There are some people out there that are so closed-minded. A certain family member of mine, don't want to mention any names, but they can't open their mind to anything that's possible.
Yeah, and I was going to say that is like a lot of people in the scientific community and people that I've had in the past in my life, they just will not like even hear any other possibility other than hard science. And I get it because
and that's frustrating. I get it too, but it's frustrating because there's more to life than science.
Right. Like, there's so much that we cannot prove, and there's science that gets disproven.
Right. So, there's like an all-knowing that we have, a lot of us, most of us, that we don't pay attention to, most people.
I think a lot of us here, like you and me and the people that we're closest with, have a way deeper understanding of what's going on. Whether we're right or not, I don't know, but I know myself and I know my intuition and I know...
Yeah, and it's powerful.
I know sometimes. So I don't know how I know. And that's okay. Like that, it's taken me a long time to even get to that point because so many times in my life, like I've been made fun of for it or laughed at or just not accepted. And it's just like...
And now you're putting them all together like, man, I'm a powerful ass human being.
You know what I did with those people?
You fucking...
I cut them right out because I don't want that in my space.
No negatives.
I like my reality. I like myself. I like the way that I think, and it takes so fucking long to get there. But if you're listening, I hope you love yourself because everybody has a place here and everybody has a special something about themselves. So if there are people in your life that don't accept you, just tell them to fuck right off.
Yeah,
okay?
Kick rocks for real.
Oh, I said fuck right off. You're so much nicer. Kick rocks.
Kick rocks. Kick fucking
Go jump
rocks.
in a lake, okay?
Yep. Please.
So I guess that's a wrap.
Yeah. Thank you so much for listening.
Until next time.
Stay mysterious.